Hello, everybody, and welcome to tonight's edition of Beyond the Ordinary Show. And I want to add a little bit of energy of celebration, even though this news has been out for a while. And then we'll get into the topic of new consciousness, new energy, new levels of everything. And Sarah Landon, our speaker guest gift tonight, is just the perfect person to lead us through this. Her ability to create from the core truth of love and joy and expansion, and to be in that energy she's just perfect for it. But Sarah, before we get into any of this, I want to congratulate you on your latest achievement. It's not your latest achievement, but this big milestone that's come up with your release on Amazon, even though it's pre-sales of your book that's being published through Hay House. And congratulations. I want to celebrate you with everybody here.
Thank you, John. I appreciate that so much. And I feel like I'm carrying along with my dream in my heart. I am carrying many people's dream because I know there's so many people that have this incredible wisdom and knowledge and these amazing stories and perspectives and things they want to share with the world. And so many times I hear people say, I want to write a book and I want to publish a book. And it's just such a beautiful experience. I was not really one of those people who said, I want to write a book. People said, you've got to write a book. You've got to write a book. And I just continue to allow it to be in the flow. Although I will say many years ago, and it still sits in my office today, you can't see it, but it's over on the wall over here. I do have this vision board that I created 10 years ago. And one of the things on there is a picture of Hay House. And I just always thought that would be a pretty amazing experience to be one of the speakers at that time. Hay House Radio was really big. And I thought, oh, it'd be so fun to be one of the speakers on Hay House Radio. But then I found out you have to publish a book in order to be on Hay House. But I just had these dreams of all these cool Oracle cards and books we could create and amazing calendars and things. And that was my dream many, many, many years ago. I had no idea how it would come together. And then just through a lot of incredible people who contributed to this and were part of it, and my amazing team and just introductions, and all these doors just opened up, and it literally went from no book deal to 2 book deals with Hay House in the matter of about 2 weeks. So I just say to everybody out there that if you have absolutely no idea how your dream is going to come true, and you have absolutely no idea how you're going to get your message or your work or your story into the world, just know that in the divine right, perfect time, a way will be made. Keep that dream in your heart and follow it, and just let the next perfect step come to you. And it has been a beautiful journey. And as I told you earlier today in our conversation, John, the connections that we make in our life are the things that when we look back are just the absolutely most priceless things, the things that money can't buy. Your connections, your opportunities. You have been a huge part of my life in so many ways, and just the opportunity to be part of BTO and meet your amazing community, and the things that you and I have done together with live events, as well as just the connections that you have made for me and my life, have been instrumental to all of where the council's work has gotten to. So I'm so grateful for that. So I think every time we come together, it's a celebration. I love that. I love all things in the energy of celebration. So I'm all up for that tonight.
Well, and we're up for really this conversation. And again, it's a conversation we've been having for a long time. So many of us, but there's new level of awarenesses and about expanding consciousness and how that's guiding into new levels of everything really that we want. So
Yeah.
I can tell you all a bit about Sara if you don't know about her. I'm just gonna say, just read her bio. She's amazing. She's an embodiment of what's possible when you really connect into the wisdom and the teaches that you receive in your heart, that you receive through your knowing, that you receive through your guides, and that you follow, and just beyond faith, but really grow it with your knowing that it's coming in the perfect timing, but that you're living the intentionality of it at the moment. So it's wonderful, Sara. And again, why this conversation now for this community? Again, new consciousness, new energy, new levels of everything.
Well, I think it's so important to really understand what we're talking about when we're talking about consciousness, the different levels of consciousness, and how that determines your reality. So, as we talk about, and one of the things we talked about sharing tonight is really the formula for creation. When we understand that consciousness is what summons the energy to create change and transformation and manifestations and miracles in our life. So when you hear about spontaneous healings, what really occurred there is a shift in consciousness, a shift out of resistance, reaction, fear into oneness and peace and freedom that allowed the energy to come through and move into form and do those miraculous things. So, if you're wanting to create anything in your life, you've got to move into a new level of consciousness. Consciousness is what moves energy into form. And so, when we talk about new energy, there's all this energy available to us. It's all your energy. There's no lack of energy. You summoning all of the energy for you does not mean there's less energy for anyone else. But most of the time, we're really not opening up and allowing all the energy that is here to move into form and create manifestations and miracles in our life, we're in resistance and in reaction. And we might say, well, no, I really want more well-being. I really want love in my life. I really want abundance. But when we're in resistance to anything, we're in resistance to everything, which means we're not summoning that energy. And so consciousness is such an important part of that, which is why what you do is so pivotal and makes such an incredible impact. When we raise our awareness, when we raise our consciousness, we move beyond our beliefs and lack and limitation and old stories and holding ourselves in separation or holding ourselves even in this endless cycle of constantly needing to fix yourself and heal yourself. This is a big shift. And I have the most tremendous respect for the incredible healers in your community, in my community, in the world. And this is not meant to be disrespectful in any way at all. It's just coming into this awareness that when we're constantly trying to heal and fix and figure out what's wrong and get rid of these parts of us, and we're fighting against the ego, we are in judgment of ourself, which means we're not in alignment to our wholeness and our perfection and our truth. And so when we really step into that state of pure love for ourself and we go beyond judgment, we begin to really summon that energy of ultimate love, pure love, well-being, abundance, and then the amazing manifestations and miracles that are here and available to you can begin to move into your life. I know you're feeling this too. We've had these conversations, but everything is being elevated into new levels. Everything is new. And that should feel really exciting. I know there's a lot of things going on in our world right now, but you in every moment have the ability to elevate your consciousness and summon the energy to create anything that you want more of in your life: more freedom, more peace, more love, more abundance, more harmony. And it's more important now than ever that we remember that as we move into these new levels of everything that we want more of in our life.
It's so beautiful. And how is it that you're working with your community right now to get them into the consciousness of that flow of the no judgment? Because repatterning judgment, it's a practice. It's a practice for a lot of people. And it's also a practice in awareness of what it does to our physical body,
Yeah.
what it's doing to our mind as we go to different places. And then again, how you say how it's affecting our ability to create what we really want.
Yeah. This is where I think realization comes in. And if you're not familiar with the term realization, or if you've heard the term realization, we define it as the integration of every part of you. So if you're trying to reject your ego, if you think your ego is a terrible, bad thing, you're rejecting a part of you, right? You're in judgment of a part of you versus really integrating and embracing every part of you in your wholeness. And someone might say, well, the ego is the part of me that has fear and all those things. Well, it's actually what happens when we hold ourselves in a lower level of consciousness or in a lower frequency or vibration. We begin to entangle with separation and fear and lack and limitation. You begin to elevate yourself in the moment to a higher level of consciousness. And all of a sudden you feel pure love and joy and freedom and abundance. It wasn't some bad part of you. It was just your frequency, your vibration. So realization is integrating every part of you to come into your wholeness, to align with your perfection, to come into that power within you, that source energy within you, and align with all of that. So when we start talking about realization or enlightenment, even for some people's perspective, it is to go fully into your own self-worth, into your own higher levels of knowing the pure love that you are, instead of fighting against or pushing against some part of you. And so sometimes it's just a habit. And for many of us, we've been on the path of spirituality and personal development, and we're always trying to see what we need to fix, what needs to be healed, what's the program we've got going, right? And in the moment, if you can just elevate yourself into a little higher level of awareness and consciousness and align to that peace and freedom that's here for you and feel into your own wholeness, this perfection that actually is the truth of who you are. It's a practice. And for those of you who aren't familiar with my work, I channel a group of higher level consciousness that we refer to as the council. And so a great majority of what they're doing anytime that we are doing a course or a master's class call or whatever it is they're bringing in a vibration and a frequency that helps you to remember who you really are, to come into a grander perspective of what's really going on here, and ultimately to come into that self-realization of who you really are. So it's all about awareness through your vibration and through your frequency. So in our community, it's this continuing moving yourself into an awareness beyond all of the habitual thinking about what's wrong with you, right? Some of these things may have been there your whole life and you don't really know who you'd be beyond it. But when you can really feel for the truth of who you are, those things just aren't there anymore. The council says in the moment we step into realization, the past is healed. You are healed. You are made whole and complete. So how do you get into realization, right? That's the question. And it's a very common term in our spiritual communities, right? Presence, being in the moment. And it sounds like, oh, that's just too easy to take some deep breaths and come into the moment and be present. But that's where our power is. And if you have something going on in your life and you're trying to figure it out and you're really worried about it and stressed, and what if this happens? What if that happens? What if that happens? You are lowering your vibration, your frequency. You are lowering your level of consciousness, which means you have a much more limited viewpoint. You're trying to push and force energy where you think it should go, becomes very overwhelming. Then you've got to push and force and effort. You get reactive, you get frustrated, you get angry. When if you would just come into the moment and really be in your power in your moment and feel for that power and begin to catch those thoughts, right? Begin to really create a absolute pure love policy, pure love policy for yourself. And the council says, do not deny love for yourself for any reason. Do not deny love for yourself for any reason. Now, when you start to move yourself into this awareness, oh, wow, you will see how many times I'll speak for myself. And I continue to see how many times throughout my day something happens. And I was at an intersection, a really strange intersection today. I'd never been down that road. I was actually on the phone with you. And I didn't realize the way the stop was. So I was going to go and then I stopped and then I thought, I'm not really sure. So I went through it and this guy I could tell was clearly irritated. I mean, kind of like went like this at me. And I was like, wait, I'm not going to deny love for myself because he's not happy with me. I just like waved and went about my day, right? Where, years ago, something that simple might have really bothered me until I started to be aware of all the ways I actually separate myself and move myself out of realization and deny love for myself instead of really being in the moment and being present and just noticing and affirming this pure love policy. I am not going to deny love for myself for any reason, no matter what. And the council uses a really silly analogy. And this is, if you're not familiar with channeled information, I can tell you this is my absolute knowing that this is not coming from me, is because they were giving this example one time. And they said, just because someone calls you a poo-poo head on the playground doesn't mean you should deny love for yourself. I'm like, oh my God, those are not words I would ever use or would come out of my mouth. But it's true. And their point was how silly and ridiculous we are sometimes of denying love for ourselves now because of what someone said to us in high school or in grade school or 10 years ago, right? Or even if it was yesterday. It's
Right.
bring yourself into this pure love policy, and you will come into the realization of truly your own perfection, how worthy and loved and complete and cared for and guided you are. And I think that's really important to me. The doorway into a new earth is to go beyond judgment and to come into knowing your own infinite worth. And to me, it's even beyond self-love a bit. It's really coming into an awareness of your infinite worth. And the proof of your infinite worth is that you're here. You have focused yourself to be part of this human experience at this time. And as the council says, during the greatest transformation of consciousness that has ever occurred in any lifetime, you're first going through your own awakening experience. And they say the purpose, the reason for every single one of you and us who hears this lifetime is about realization. It's to fully come into realization, integrate every part of you, and then live as the master that you are, creating your reality the way you wish it to be. It's not about being master over any other, but really being the master of your experience here. And they say that it's the closest thing is like a grand vacation, right? You're home, you love your home, everything's good, but you know this better than anybody, John Burgos. You desire to go on some vacation, to go someplace new, to have an adventure. So you begin to look around and see what looks exciting to you, and you plan your trip and you travel there and you find yourself in this new place, having these new experiences and meeting new people, and you have an amazing time. And then you go back home. Why? Because it's so good to come home. And that's what they say our human experience is like. It's our grand adventure. It's this magnificent vacation that you have chosen to come here to be part of the human experience at this time. And when your vacation is complete, you'll go back home. Why? Because it's so good to be home. And then a new adventure will call you. And so thinking about that in relation to how we live our life, right? When you're on a vacation and you feel really good, and because you're in a new place, you're not so attached to the old stories, you're not so attached to the old habits. So let yourself make that shift in your own life, that every day is an opportunity for this grand adventure and whatever you want it to be, because we really are here to master our life experience and create our reality. And, you know, John, you and I know each other very well. You know, we've been through many different things in our life. At this time in my life, I am absolutely living beyond my wildest dreams, an adventure I couldn't have even imagined for myself. But, you know, when I left my corporate world and literally everything that I identified as who I was fell away and fell apart, I literally found myself with the cleanest slate you can find, right? It's like nothing existed of the life that I had spent so many years building. And I had no idea how I was going to get from where I was to where I so deeply desired to be. But I can look back now and see how we are creating our realities in every moment. And so now we're at another pinnacle here. We're at another place where a whole new level of consciousness is opening up to us, and it will just continue to expand and get better. And as you elevate your consciousness, you begin to summon new energy. As you move into new levels of consciousness, you summon new energy. That new energy is what brings forth new levels of everything that you want more of in your life: peace, joy, love, harmony, abundance, freedom, well-being, whatever it is, and all that it means for you.
That's so beautiful and so beautifully articulated. It was really interesting on a group event that I was at recently, and there was just people running just in this gathering, it was a large group of people. It was fascinating when I stepped in without knowing anybody, that I went from the typical, I'm seeing people and they're doing their thing, and it's, I'll call them, they have their personality, they have their suits, they have their whoever they happen to be in
Yeah.
physical form. And the first thing that I saw this time, these soul beings, there was a
Mhm.
different way of experiencing the interactions with these people that I didn't know. And again, I think it came
Yeah.
from a place of non-judgment, but seeing a level of consciousness awakening in people is actually creating enough of vibrational shift also that we're seeing past the layers of that egoic protection mechanism, and
Yeah.
something is opening up.
This reminds me. So after our master's class calls every week, we do these community calls. So everybody can be off of mute and be on video and that they can interact. And we've really been focused on fostering a lot of community in everything that we do. And we were talking about this in the channeled call that day, but someone shared an example, and I believe it was Hope in our community. And she said that, when she was a kid, she actually loved moving to a new town. She loved it, and they moved a lot. And she saw it as her opportunity to let go of something, but to become more of who she wanted to be. So she would move to a new school and meet new friends and got to be this whole new version of her every time they moved. And so now, a lot of times when we get older and we look at change or moving, and we think of change sometimes as exciting, but for some people, change feels like something that resistance comes up around, right? We don't want change. And energy is what changes everything, right? Our consciousness and the energy around it is what changes everything. So when our awareness is this new opportunity, this opportunity to just go someplace new where you've never known anyone before, and to bring another level of yourself, to bring another version of yourself, to create yourself the way you want it to be. And that's what we're all doing every day. We really are creating ourselves the way we want to be. Now, some people would say, but I don't want to be the way I am. I just am that way. But we really are creating it, and by what we think is possible for us. And that, again, comes back to our worthiness and how worthy we feel, which comes back to, do you deny love for yourself? Do you deny appreciation for yourself? Do you not deny how incredible you are and how far you've come? Or do you really let yourself embrace that and receive that? You
And
know,
what's a practice in your community that that members are using again to get back into the harmonization of what you're speaking about? Because it's easy to say it, and it's another thing to not get into the habits, to really
yeah.
sustain and make baby steps when there's actually an opportunity to make huge strides towards it with the proper application and awareness and presence.
So I truly believe if you were listening to these conversations around spirituality and consciousness and all of these things that are possible for us, it is elevating your awareness. It's shifting your awareness. Whether you're reading a book, whether you're listening to something like this. However, what really changes our life is when we consciously and intentionally apply these things in our life. And so you may have the awareness of it, but it's really practicing it. And sometimes it's just so simple that people don't do it. It is this pure love policy for yourself, right? And sometimes, and you did this masterfully, I'll never forget it. We were at a live event together, and you asked the audience to say, I'm beautiful, I'm smart, I'm strong, I'm loved, I'm worthy. And then you said, okay, now say I'm stupid. Now say nobody loves me. And it's like the whole crowd
Mm,
went
yeah.
because it's so uncomfortable to
Mm,
say those things out loud. But somehow we can unconsciously allow these things to play in the background. So for me, it's about starting to have some conversations with yourself and to really hold yourself accountable. And sometimes you just have to say, no, like,
mm.
stop it. Stop it. You're being ridiculous right now. That's silly. That's so ridiculous. Just stop it. You're loved. You're fine. Everything's going to work out. It always has. It always does. Just relax.
Mm,
And so that's sometimes the first step, right? Sometimes you just have to talk to yourself out loud. And sometimes holding yourself accountable, just like you did that day and the exercise that you showed everybody, is that it's almost impossible to say out loud those things about yourself.
mm,
But yet, a lot of times we just let them run on some unconscious program in our minds. And so tell yourselves to stop. Tell yourself to stop it. Like, no, I am not going down this road. I'm not going to have, and just come into the moment. To me, that's the way I get back into the moment. And then just close your eyes and take 3 deep breaths. And as you're listening to me talk, just do it yourself to your own count. And the first breath, you might be like, yeah, whatever. How's this going to change my life? Second one, you're like, okay, fine. Maybe I feel better. But by the third deep breath, it's kind of like, oh, okay, there I am. I'm back in the moment. All your power is in the moment. Now, from there, you can begin to elevate your consciousness. And, just briefly, I think it's helpful to understand the different levels of consciousness. And this is how the council explains it. And some people might have different perspectives of this. I respect all people's teachings from their perspective. The third dimension of consciousness is where the majority of our mass collective exists, which is determined by the vibration and the frequency we're in. So when we have a lot of resistance and overwhelm and stress, we slow our vibration, we slow our frequency, which automatically lowers our consciousness. And so when we're in a lower level of consciousness, like the third dimension, the basis for that dimension of consciousness is separation, separate from each other, separate from source, God, the divine, separate from your loved one. When someone passes on, you are now perceiving that they are gone and you are separate. In the third dimension of consciousness, you have fear, you have lack, you have limitation, you have this perspective or perception of what's right and what's wrong and who's bad and who's good. And there's this fighting against. None of this is who we are. And none of the things that happen in the third dimension of consciousness is who we really are. It's just the level of consciousness we're perceiving in. And those are the things that exist there. All of your community is on this spiritual path of awakening and more fully awakening and coming into enlightenment and realization. And the first step is kind of, who am I? Who am I and why am I here? I know you and I asked this question right around the same time. And so then you begin to elevate your consciousness. Really, when you start to ask those questions, who am I? You begin to shift your awareness, which begins to raise your vibration, your level of consciousness. And the council says you then move into the fourth dimension of transformation, where you realize you can change your circumstances and your conditions. You can change things. You can heal. You can fix. And that's a very empowering thing. It's so much better than believing in the fear and the lack and the limitation. You can transform those things. But we get stuck there and we get stuck in constantly wanting to transform things. So when something's going on in our life, we want to change the circumstances and the conditions instead of elevating our consciousness, which is where you summon the energy for the grand manifestations that you want to experience in your life. And this to me is so important. So, so, so important. I was searching for answers. I had big questions and I was reading books and I was studying and I was going to seminars and I was going to workshops. And this was the missing piece to me that no one could explain to me, because I had done the work hard and effort and force and set goals and make it happen. And it didn't result in feeling more love or more abundance or more well-being. I just continued to feel more lack and need to work harder. And what should I do? And what do I still have left to do? And this was the missing piece for me. And I never would have expected that the answers to these things would be coming through me. And, I won't go into my whole story, but that's really what happened. Is I started automatic writing, and then I did a quantum hypnosis healing session. And through that, I received the counsel for the first time, and they brought through the answers to all of these questions that I had. And I realized they're not separate from me. It is, also a process of tuning into a higher level of consciousness and awareness that is available. So the step out of all of that, and really the answer I was looking for, is to understand this whole idea of heaven on earth. That's what really drew me in, this whole concept of a new earth. I remember when I first saw Eckhart Tolle's book, A New Earth, I'm like, oh, it's like I was remembering that. Like I knew what he was talking about. Like I felt like I had been there. And yet it was a concept I don't remember hearing prior to that. And so that a new earth, heaven on earth, is a state of consciousness. And the council refers to that as the fifth dimension of pure love. And when we elevate ourselves into that dimension of pure love, we begin to summon energy that just wasn't available to us in lower levels of consciousness.
Mhm.
Not because God didn't love you, not because you have some terrible karmic past that you need to fix before you can be happy. It's quite simply a perceiving yourself into a higher level of consciousness where your love and abundance and well-being and joy and happiness is always available to you. Heaven on earth is a state of consciousness that we tune into, and an energy and a frequency where anything and everything is possible for us. And so when we come into that state of pure love, it's oneness. It is a state of knowing. It is peace and harmony. It's this feeling of being one with everything. And from there, when we let go of all of that resistance and we come into pure love and we're in that vibration and that frequency, the next step comes to you.
Mhm.
What you want and what you need shows up before you need it. You do open up into new levels of peace. You do open up into new levels of harmony. You do open up into new levels of abundance. And it, it, all of my teachings and the council's teachings are always about living in a very modern world, having a family, having a spouse or a relationship, having a job or a business or a career that you love, being in community and being part of things. It really is about taking all of this wisdom and really embodying it in your life every day. So when something comes up, instead of reacting, right? Instead of being in resistance and trying to get out of that resistance by fixing something or making something happen, start practicing the awareness that, oh, I feel this way because of the vibration and the frequency I'm holding myself in. I can't see a way, and it feels hopeless to me because I'm holding myself in separation and feeling lack and limitation. There's nothing wrong with you. You're not bad. You don't still have to fix some karmic right, wrong from the past in order to experience heaven on earth in this moment. You just need to begin to elevate your awareness through the breath, through your presence, through what you are focused on. And if you focus on wanting to feel what it feels like to be in a state of oneness or heaven on earth or pure love, you will begin to draw that experience to you. And then it's about practicing going there before something triggers you, but absolutely when something triggers you. When you feel that resistance, instead of going, what's wrong with me? Who's wrong? Who did this to me? Right? It's okay, wait a minute. I need to step into a higher level of consciousness, into a grander perspective where I can feel some energy that comes through here that is guiding the way, is bringing the next step forward, or is bringing forth the manifestation that you really want to experience. Does that make sense?
Oh, it makes so much sense. Absolutely. For me, I have a very oh, go ahead, please.
No, go. I'm good.
No, for me, it's the experience lately has been, again, after having this experience of seeing these souls showing up in this particular way, I came to the realization, and it was a practice, but it's also an immediate awareness as well.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll talk about it in this big way, and I hope that you all feel just the innocence and the huge potential in it as well. But I realize that I'm a God interacting with gods.
Yeah.
I see you as a God. And in that present moment, I'm not searching for God. I'm aware of who I'm in. With you in the audience, I'm having the reflection of being you and being myself simultaneously in that divine state of presence. And so anywhere where I feel that I'm not connected to God, I've lost my God essence. I've gotten out of vibrational harmony with the truth that emanates. And
Mhm.
it can be being with someone, it can be marveling at the God in the computer that was created through me, for me, that's all
Mhm.
there. And that consciousness puts you again in that vibrational state of the awareness
Yeah.
of truth that really emanates, that it's all happening for us, but it's all happening in the present moment. But we're wandering to other places trying to create outside of that.
Yeah. Yeah. And for people who have some sort of reaction to the word God, right? Whatever word feels good to you, source, the divine. But to me, it really is that understanding that you are God and you are creator within your own creation of reality, and everyone else is too.
Mhm.
Everyone is creator within their own creation of reality. In fact, the council says that's the answer to every question you'll ever ask. I am creator within my own creation. If you can just play with that a little bit in your own life. And that takes some responsibility sometimes to go, okay, I'm creator within my own creation. And your mind might want to say, well, no, well, this person did it, or that person did it, or this person should have done it, or but if you just understand that it's actually very powerful
Mm.
to take responsibility for whatever it is that has been created from now to now, and then to create it the way you want it to be without judgment of
Mm.
yourself or anyone. And it's a practice, but it's actually very empowering, and it becomes very easy. It becomes very easy. And you can look at things that are going on in your family or in your communities or in the world, and if you just for a moment go into a higher level of consciousness or awareness, and you go beyond what's wrong and who's bad and who shouldn't be doing this or that, everything comes back to the fact that each one of us are creator within our own creation of reality. And when you do not believe you have the power to create your reality, that's a scary thought, right? But when you know how to summon the energy and move it into form to create anything you want more of in your life through your consciousness, then there is an eternal feeling of freedom. You know you are inherently safe. You know you are always guided. But again, it comes back to consciousness.
Mhm.
And so, there's lots of examples of this, but we are a force field of consciousness made up of particles of infinite creation that are always responding to us. The intelligence that creates worlds is within you. The intelligence that creates worlds is within you and always available to you. And most importantly, it's about creating your world the way you want it to be. And a lot of times we look outside and we go, no, but all these other things have to change first before I can create the world that I want to live in, right? But the opposite is actually true. As you create within your own life, within you and around you, the world you want to live in, you are contributing to that in the world. And then that's what begins to expand. And I think it's more important now than ever. And, as I look at things in the world, I it's an observation of just being able to go, where does that also exist somewhere within me? And not judging that and just loving that part of you. And there's so much freedom in that. There's so much opportunity to really align with that God part of you and everyone else. And that's not about having power over anyone. Uh, it's understanding that you are this glorious human, and you are this divine, infinite creator being meant to have a beautiful adventure together as one. That's why we're here. That's why we're here. So Don't take things so serious all the time. Find that space for yourself to just observe without judgment. And where you have to take responsibility for things, there's no shame in that. It's empowering, because until we really realize, again, realization, realize, and the word comes up again. When we realize how we have been creating our experience and we take responsibility for that, then we can begin to create our reality intentionally in whatever ways we want to experience more of: more joy, more love, more freedom, more abundance, more inspiration, more creativity, more personal power, whatever it is in your life.
It's so wonderful. I love the way that you're explaining this and bringing in the resonance and and again, the frequency, the harmonization for all of us to align with that and remember and remember and remember. And it's a practice and an awareness, and it can shift like that. And we get to carry it forward in our presence. So it's again, I love the way that you're bringing it forward. I want to get into, I want to take Q&A here in a little bit, because we always Q&A on the show. So if y'all want to ask Sara your personal question, feel free to type a question into the chat box or raise your hand, and we'll get to questions in a little bit. But we had Jay who asked if the course that you're offering is live. So let's get into the special offer.
And it is live.
Yes.
Well, depending on when you're listening to this, but if you're listening to this live, then yes, the course is live too. And we're really excited to offer that. It's not always the opportunity that it works out to have a live course, but we really looked at how we could incorporate that with our BTO appearance today. So it is a live course. It's a 6-part live channeled course beginning exactly 2 weeks from when we're filming this live begins on March 31st and runs for 6 weeks. So we're really excited about it. We've done a lot of amazing courses, but the energy in this is just amazing. Grand manifestations. It is about new levels of love, well-being, abundance, personal power, which goes into purpose and all of those amazing things. And then creation, whatever that means to you, whether it's more creativity, creating more in your life. So we're really excited about it. It's about bold and bigger manifestations, but as we shared here, it's also those small, seemingly priceless things. And I go back to that again and again. And my community hears this from me a lot, but your name comes up a lot, John, because some of the most grand manifestations in my life have been people and have been an introduction to someone like you. And I still remember Linda Ferguson, who introduced us and just said, you gotta meet this John Burgos guy. I think she emailed you. And I just think of those things of just, it's these seemingly small moments where you meet someone. I was reminded today, years ago, it was my last little bout of exploring the corporate world before I dove in with both feet into this world. And I met one person that I was destined to meet. I flew to San Francisco for an interview for this company to meet one person who introduced me to one person who is just an absolute angel in my life and is now editing a book that Mike Dooley and I are doing together. She's just been a godsend. But that was like a grand and glorious manifestation that has been life-changing for me. So it's those things, and it also is those big manifestations that you want in your life. And so we are really harnessing this energy, this awareness. We're going to do a kickoff party next Thursday, live on March 24th. So if you're registered prior to that, you can join us live. And we're going to spend the whole time just expanding our awareness on all of the grand manifestations that are possible. I find that when people talk about their manifestations and the miracles that have happened and the things that they've created in their life, it expands all of us to new potentials and possibilities. And in that, we all begin to experience even grander, more amazing, glorious manifestations. So that kickoff party will be next Thursday live on March 24th. And then we will start the course on March 31st. So each session is a 90-minute channeled call on Zoom, so either video or audio, and includes a Q&A. And then we have also dedicated our 6th session session to Q&A to answer all of your questions, to bring you into the highest levels of awareness of these things. So we'll be talking about new levels of love, then well-being, abundance, power, creation, and then new levels of everything as we really dive into a dedicated Q&A. So we're so excited about this. Each one of the calls will also have a community component to it. There will be 2 opportunities to join community calls, either in the earlier part of the day, Pacific time, and a little bit later part of the day. Fostering community is really, really, really important to us. So there is a dedicated community just for this call for us to come together to create, collaborate, co-create. And all of us in that process, I believe, will expand the grand and the glorious manifestations that we experience. So you'll see there, you'll also receive a recent live channeled event that we did on March 7th, which specifically focused on addressing what's going on in the world right now. We talked about new levels of peace, harmony, and freedom during current times. And that was a really powerful channeled call from the council. The course will begin video replays for every session, audio, as well as transcripts. And then the incredible community, which I think you will really love. If you haven't been part of one of our live events in the past, the community part is really, really special. So I feel like we're in this time where coming together and celebrating our gifts and celebrating our manifestations. We started this call today with celebration. You know, whether I'm celebrating something that I'm experiencing or I'm celebrating something you're experiencing, John, it feels the same to me. So as we celebrate each other and we celebrate these grand manifestations, we just open and expand to more. So it's going to be a really, really amazing, and I venture to say life-changing experience for all of us. So I'm so excited about this course, and I hope you guys will join us. We also are offering, and it's something I felt guided to do a while back, is this choose your value exchange, where you get to choose what feels right to you. So you have the opportunity to join this course at 3 different pricing options, whichever feels right to you, 97, 127, or 147, and just really choose that value exchange. To me, that's it's something that just feels really aligned to where I think we all want to go in this new earth community of how we serve and how we share our gifts and how we really honor each other's gifts. So please join us. It's just going to be such an amazing experience. I just love this BTO community. You have the most amazing people here, and we'd love to have you. Everybody that's part of that course, whether you're on live or you're joining the replays, I truly believe that your consciousness is part of every single one of these sessions. And whenever you're hearing it is perfect. So if you can't join live, it's okay. We truly try to do these live calls during our courses at a time that works the best for most everybody globally. We know it's not perfect for everybody, but even if you can't join live, the replays will be shortly available after each call. Our amazing team gets those up usually the same day, within a 4 or 5 hours after the course. So you'll have pretty instant access to the replays. So do we have any questions in the chat about this?
Let's look. And again, y'all, just April has put the link in the chat box. So if you want to, if you're trying to find where to sign up to register and to have your value exchange and to choose it, again, the link's in the chat box, or you can go to beyondtheordinaryshow.com/Sara27. It'll take it to the same page. And let's see if any questions are coming in around it. Just hello from Oregon. And is it live? And yes, it's a live course. It'll be recorded. And I have to say, Sara's amazing. It's like the exuberance, like this just light energy of how amazing life is. Over the years, as we progress, it's like your call to her was like, oh my God, that was more amazing than the last one. I didn't even know I can even get even better than that. But there's this progression that you keep experiencing as you come into harmonization with these new levels of consciousness that of course, the elevation is something that you're really riding the wave of. And for me, the way that you do it in community, it's just so addictive. It's so attractive, magnetizing into being in a cohesive space that supports that access.
Thank you for that. Every course that we do, it seems to build and expand upon the one previously and just take us into new frontiers, down new paths. And I really do feel like this one is going to be like nothing we've ever done before. So I'm super excited, and just grand manifestations. Who does not want more of that in their life? So I appreciate you saying that. And I just have to really echo it again. What's happening in these courses is an elevation of consciousness, is these new levels of consciousness that are coming through to us, these new levels of awareness. As we elevate our awareness through our consciousness, we begin to perceive new potentials and possibilities that we just simply weren't open to in the past. And the energy wasn't there to move them into form because the consciousness wasn't there. And so I think I heard the council say 100 times the secret formula for creation is consciousness moves energy into form. Raising your consciousness summons new energy to move grand manifestations into form in your life. I heard it again and again and again, but as I started to experience it, I was like, oh, I get it. Like, I get how important it is. And you just get to this point where you can feel when you're in resistance, and you just want to shift out of that as quickly as possible, because you know you're shutting down all of the miracles and the manifestations and the magical things that are coming in and trying to present themselves to you. And to me, it's like an endless activation, these channeled calls. It activates something within you. And for me, and I think, as many of our members of our community have said, you're just forever changed.
Mm-hmm.
And you just don't see the things the same anymore. You have such a grander perspective on life, and how you navigate your life becomes so much more joyful. Somebody said, it's this you can't be happy all the time, or you can't really be joyful all the time, or you really can't, life can't really be that great. And it's like, yes, it can.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, it can.
Mm-hmm.
It really can.
Yep.
And you can choose that, because you have the power in every moment to choose the thoughts you're thinking. And the thoughts that you're thinking are affecting your emotions, and your emotions are affecting the way that you feel, which affects your vibration, which determines the level of consciousness you're in. So that vibration is determining how energy is flowing into your experience and how manifestation is moving into form. And it comes back to what you believe is possible. If you think, well, it's impossible to be happy all the time, you will not be happy all the time. You will give meaning to the unhappiness. Now, that's not to say you're not being present to the way that you feel or to emotions that are coming up. It's about understanding that you can still observe those emotions. You can still observe what's coming up without reacting, without resistance, without entangling in judgment, without dipping down into shame, which is the heaviest, densest human emotion. You can still stay conscious and observe what your human is feeling, what emotions are coming up for your human. And you can still be in the awareness that you do not have to dip down out of a state of joyfulness, even as you're observing these feelings and these emotions. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah, of course. Of course. And it's really important to note in these types of communities, it's good to bring this awareness home as well, because this is more than an energetic and a spiritual shift. I won't say more, but it's inclusive of it. We're repatterning our neurological components, our brains, the peptides that release, our trauma responses, again, from a chemical level through our physiology, is also adjusting. So this is way beyond woo-woo. This is really learning how to create with all the components that we have access to, which includes the physical manifestation of our body, working in alliance with our higher selves, and intelligence that we've been taught is outside of us, but really lives in us. And so when you meld those awarenesses together, this isn't, well, some people can get it and some don't. It's a practice and an awareness, and how you so beautifully explained it, Sarah, a realization. And I love it, realization.
Mhm.
It's truth. It's real. This is what's
Yeah.
happening. And so
Yeah.
it's so beautiful how it's melding, and the power that that invokes, the capacity that it has to overturn limiting beliefs when you're talking about happiness and being in a joyful state all the time. That's what happens organically as you
Yeah.
invoke this. So it's so powerful.
Yeah. I love that you said that because it really is true. If you were to explain it scientifically, it's like you no longer get triggered into survival mode, into fight or flight. You're literally training your body and creating neural pathways in your brain where you stay in peace and harmony instead of going into reaction survival mode. Your body's responding chemically like, you're being chased by a saber-toothed tiger when you're not,
Mm.
right? And so it really is a measurable response in the body to not reacting, not going into survival mode, not going into that fight or flight mode, but to be in your power in the moment, to
Mm.
really be in your power in the moment. And, I think about certain stories and examples I've heard about this, right? Of someone who was in fear, reacting, fight or flight, total fear response, and is in the proximity of a wild animal.
Mm.
Well, animals are predatory animals are reacting to the fear response. Prey moves a certain way and reacts a certain way because it's in survival and it's fleeing, right? Or fighting. Where I have heard so many different stories of people that have in those situations come into a higher level of consciousness and don't elicit a fear response, stay in harmony. And that is what actually keeps them safe and protects them and guides them. And so when we break it down, and there's lots of different examples that you can look at this, but in the moment, even if it is a typical situation where it would be a fight or flight, if you really elevate your consciousness and come into total harmony and presence in the moment, the energy and the light will guide you, or you will be guided around things.
Mm.
And there's just so many examples of that in the world, in our lives.
Mm. Absolutely. So wonderful. So again, y'all, the course, the links in the chat box. You can choose what you pay in the energy exchange that feels appropriate to you up to April 1st, and dive into the course live courses. It's going to be phenomenal, phenomenal.
And if you're listening to this live or before March 24th, the kickoff party is going to be so much fun. It is really going to be expansive. The live energy of that is going to be amazing. So please join us for that. And as much as you can, join us for the live calls. But again, we understand and we get the replays up as quickly as possible. Many, many, many people that aren't able to join the live calls report that they feel like they're there in the experience. We're on the replay, and most all of us listen to the replays time and time and time again. So I think you'll get more out of it every time you listen to each one of the sessions. So join us before the 24th of March if you're listening to this now or in the next few days, and join us for that kickoff party.
Wonderful. So Sarah, I'll call it a quintessential question because so many, this comes up quite a bit. And Susan, thank you for writing in and for sharing. So Susan writes, hi, Sarah, it's so lovely to see your shiny, happy face. I live in West Australia and we just had our borders raised because we've been in lockdown for 2 years now. I feel like no matter how much work I do on myself, I keep coming back to the same place. I eat out of work trying to boost my self-confidence. I got a job interview yesterday for a job that basically made me feel sick. If I'm creating my own life, which I believe, what can I do to shift the cycle? It's been going on for over 20 years.
So I would begin by every morning when you wake up, before you open your eyes, before you do anything at all, I want you to envision your perfect day and live your perfect day in as much detail as possible before you open your eyes. And really, anything is possible. You can wake up on a beach with the waves crashing outside your window on a beautiful sunny day. You can then get up and go for a walk on the beach, have a beautiful breakfast, and then do something meaningful in a community of people that you love spending time with. And then maybe in the afternoon, you are having conversations that you really enjoy with people, or maybe you're painting, or maybe you're building something, whatever it is for you, right? And then let's just say you want to have dinner in the Eiffel Tower overlooking Paris. Then have your dinner in a beautiful restaurant in Paris overlooking the Eiffel Tower if you want. And then get on a jet and fly back to the beach. And, maybe you're in Spain and you're on the ocean and you're in this beautiful place and there's music playing and you fall asleep in your beautiful room on the beach, listening to me, whatever it is, with anyone you want. Live your perfect day. And when you have absolutely lived your perfect day, and sometimes I do this and I'm like, oh, I got to go back to breakfast because I want to add this into my perfect day. And then I go back and do it again. And when I've lived my absolute perfect day, then and only then do you open your eyes and just find as many moments throughout the day to take down that gap or that separation between where you are now and what it would feel like to live your perfect day. I feel like you are being given space to really create who you want to be and to go beyond what everyone else told you you should do or you thought you should do, to really discover your gifts and the things that you're good at and the things that you love. I think you're being given space right now to slow down. You have space around yourself and really create who you want to be and your perfect day. Because when we are projecting those images into our holographic imagination or a holographic reality in our force field of consciousness, really it's so important to understand that you're a force field of consciousness and you're made up of these particles of infinite creation. And so when you project a holographic image in your imagination, your cells in your body begin to respond to that. The particles of infinite creation begin to respond to that. And in that moment, you are beginning to draw more of those experiences to you. And so it can be very general: more love, more abundance, more freedom, more well-being, more play and creativity, whatever it is. But I really encourage you to play the game with yourself of living your perfect day before you ever open your eyes. And I have been in the place in my life where I had a lot of time. I wasn't working. I didn't really know what I was supposed to do. I was worried I was running out of money. I thought I was supposed to be doing something. I look back now and I know that time was divinely orchestrated for me. And every time I tried to go back to the old, seemingly safe and comfortable, the door would just shut. I have a friend that's a unity minister, and he's like, sometimes you just find yourself in the hallway and you try to run back and open the doors that you came from, but they're shut. And you're in the hallway waiting for the new doors to open. But he says, sometimes it can be hell in the hallway waiting for those doors to open, which I very much identified with. But I'll tell you, I look back at that time and I wished I would have enjoyed it and appreciated it and done all the things I always wanted to do instead of worry and stress, because it really was leading me to the next perfect step. And I really feel like for you, I use the term let go, right? What does that mean? It really means just let go of everything, expectation, what you're attached to, the resistance, how you think it should be, where you think it should be, what you should do, what you haven't. Just let go of all of that and just breathe and be in the moment. And then ask yourself, what really brings me joy? what do I love? Now, my answers to those questions back at that time were spirituality. I love to listen to different spiritual teachers. I love having conversations around this type of stuff. Like that's what I loved. Nature, animals, spirituality. I was in the corporate world. I had no idea. Like I kept saying to myself, well, how are you going to do that? And nobody gets paid to do that. Like how are you going to support yourself doing that? Right? Full circle moment. And so just trust that what you love and what you enjoy and what lights you up and what inspires you is your path.
Mhm.
Just keep focusing on those things and what brings you joy and envision your perfect day.
It's beautiful. It sounds like Susan has practiced that before, but she said that she forgot. And this is funny. You're going to laugh at this, but this is part of the energy, Susan. Also, the levity that comes in. Um, by the way, by the way, John, I often use the greeting, "Good day, y'all," because it makes me laugh. And now I think of you when I do so. So the levity, the playfulness, the sinking into a relaxed state from that tremendously helps. And I want to reiterate, because I want to just drive this into the awareness of what's possible. It's the emotional state that you're in when you're thinking of those things in the perfect day that really activate it, because we can have we tick the boxes, speaking Australian now, right? And we can go through, oh, I thought about this and this is what I want to do, and we go through the motion. But to have an intimate relationship with that creation, I think is paramount to really bring it into what's possible.
Yeah. And I want to go back to something we talked about earlier. Really notice how often you deny love for yourself in spaces like that, when you're like, what, I'm not good enough yet. I don't, this always happens, or I'm not going to get the job, or I didn't get the job, or I haven't been working and I should be doing this. It was a very dark and difficult time for me when I was in that place, but I can look back now and see that it was because of how in almost every moment I was denying love for myself,
Mm.
because I haven't done enough yet. And I'm not where I should be or where other people think I'm supposed to be, or I haven't figured it out yet. Right. Or I'm not doing something I love. And I just kept denying this love for myself moment after moment when I was in a very similar place to what you're talking about. And so the really important piece there is we talk about practicing self-love, but really like create this pure love policy for yourself. You're not going to deny love for yourself for any reason.
Mm-hmm.
You're
Mm.
not. And just really focus on that and be aware of that. And we just think about it. If you had a really dear friend who was like, gosh, I'm in this place and things aren't quite working out. And, I went to this job interview and I just can't do it. It's not what I want to do. I don't know what I want to do. Okay. What would you say to someone you loved and cared about?
Mm.
Oh my gosh, you're amazing. You're beautiful. You're so strong. You're smart. You've got this. Everything's going to work out for you. Just trust yourself, follow your path, do the things that you enjoy. I mean, we would say the nicest things, the most kind, loving, supportive, compassionate, caring things to someone in our life if they were going through that. But what do we say to ourselves? None of those things. So sometimes you have to be your own biggest fan. And sometimes you have to be your own best cheerleader. And sometimes you have to be, that person in your corner for yourself.
Mm.
And so it may seem like, how's that going to change my life? But I'll tell you, it will, because you've probably never really practiced loving yourself and feeling complete and worthy. From a very young age, we begin to separate ourselves into, I'll be worthy when, I'll be enough when I win that, but then you win that, you got to win something else, and you achieve that, and then you got to achieve something else. we're designed to always be expanding and to be in motion, and that's a wonderful thing. But think about it as this journey, not I'll be whole when, I'll be happy when. No, you are whole and beautiful and worthy and complete and already aligned with your perfection now. And so go live your life fully and love fully and be who you are from that place. It's a very different level of awareness. And again, it's the consciousness that summons the energy into physical form of those grand manifestations in our lives.
Yeah, so beautiful. I love what Catherine just wrote. It's like, Sara, the council is amazing. And when you speak as Sara, it's just as powerful. Thank you, friend. And that's that witnessing of the embodiment that I talked about in the beginning of the call. That higher self aspect that comes in and that you've had intimacy with for all this time, sharing the truth of what's coming through in transparency and acceptance. And really from a place of non-judgment, even though you may have judged in the beginning, it's like you attuned, and it's all of it. It's you, it's the council, it's you and the council, it's Sara, and everybody that is magnetized toward your work, drawn to it, they're part of that consciousness as well.
Oh, absolutely.
So beautiful. Yeah.
The council always says, you are us and we are you. And we came forth because we promised we would, so that you never forget who you really are. And it's just so true. Imagine, really, I believe personally, when your soul or your higher self is looking at you, the human, I think they are fascinated. I think your soul and your higher self is so totally and completely in love with your human. I think your soul loves your human more than anything, and just thinks your human is the most incredible, magnificent, amazing creation. Council says, you are your own greatest creation. You are the most beautiful thing that you ever will create. So if we think about ourselves that way, we're actually aligned to our soul. We're actually aligned to our higher self. When we're looking at our human the way our higher self sees us, just give yourself permission to see your human that way.
So beautiful. So beautiful. All right, let's go to another caller.
Okay.
Pat George, let's get you to come on live. Welcome.
Good evening, you two beautiful people. I love you.
Hi, Pat.
I love you.
I love you. Hello.
I was thinking about what you were talking about earlier, and it's my understanding that we all exist on this planet in varying vibrational levels, some in the third, some in the fourth, and some in the fifth dimensional vibrational levels. So if someone is in the fifth, say, and they're creating their own reality, right? So someone in the fifth would not want war. They would be all about love and peace. So on this planet where Ukraine is being attacked, so is it that someone in the fifth dimension would not even be aware of that happening? Or is it that they would be aware of that happening, but they're not focusing on the pain and the horror? They'd be focusing on all these people sending love to the Ukrainians and going there to help them and bolster up the peace and the support to the people. I'm just trying to figure out how
I could have this conversation
for the same world.
Yeah,
it has their own reality, right?
So think about it a little more fluid than that, right? Vibration, frequency, levels of consciousness. You may go through different levels of consciousness throughout the day. In some moments, you might be in that state of pure love. You're open, you're allowing, you're receiving. Things are beautiful. Life is good. Something happens and you decide it's awful and terrible, and that person's horrible. Now you're engaged in this conversation of how awful and terrible, and then this awful, terrible thing someone tells you about, and then this awful, terrible thing. Now all of a sudden you're just completely hopeless and overwhelmed and sad, and all you can focus on is the suffering, and you feel so helpless. So it's not that you are anointed into the fifth dimension and therefore you are there forevermore. It is still a continual experience of what level of presence or what level of consciousness you're in that moment.
That allows you to respond.
Right.
And not
so,
react, like you were
here's
saying.
the other thing, right? We are observing something, right? We are focusing ourselves into another reality when we're looking at that.
Mhm.
And in most cases, we're entangling with it. We are in judgment. We are saying this person is wrong and this person is bad and this shouldn't be happening.
And that's another thing. Like, so when you look at Putin, right? So some people see him as evil. Well, if you don't believe in evil, you know, or if you read the Matthew Ward books and things like that, then you might be saying, okay, well, maybe is it that he's playing a role on the stage, and he's just playing a role of this person to bring light to the corruption of government so that people will band together and be unified in oneness? Or is it that he really has in his spirit strayed from the light to the point where he's all about power and whatever like that, you know?
Let me just offer you something, you know, even what the council would say, maybe even a different perspective on that, or a grander perspective on that. What's really going on when we observe something like that? We're saying we don't want suffering, and we don't want war, and we don't want harm, and we don't want fear. We don't want these things. And that's what we're focused on. And we're trying to figure out why the bad is there. And now you're giving your attention, you know, what you're focused on, what you're giving your attention to is what your energy is going to. What do you actually really want? Peace, harmony, freedom. Begin to focus on that. And we are not powerless. We are not powerless. The live call that we did on March 7th, we talked about this in a channel call, great lengths, right? And the council said, someone asked the council, okay, so we're just supposed to sit around and let all this happen? You know, other people are saying that we need to take action, we need to do something. And the council says, you know, emphatically, hey, we're not saying don't take action here. We're just saying the level of consciousness you're in when you take action really matters.
Mhm.
If you are in fear and you are thinking someone's bad and evil, and you're going to go out and push against them, you are contributing to the warring energy. If you elevate yourself into the highest level of consciousness, where you create peace within yourself, where you first go within you and align to peace in your own body, and ask yourself this question: are all areas of your own life in peace and harmony?
Mhm.
Are you free in your own life?
So not only
How do you align those things first? Right? So aligning yourself to peace. So I and the council shares this, you know, going from your head down into your heart and aligning with peace. What does peace feel like? Feel it so clearly that you align every cell of your body to a state of peace, from the top of your head to the bottom of your feet and out your fingertips. And when every cell of your body is aligned with a state of peace, then expand that, fill this room with peace, see that going out, and really align this entire force field of consciousness that is you, that expands far greater than you can imagine, into a state of peace and harmony. And then take that level of consciousness and that vibration and that frequency into whatever inspired action you take. But coming into that higher level of consciousness first is the most important step, because if we are not in harmony in our own life, if there's parts of our life that are not in peace, but we're going to go war against who's even creating more levels of suffering, right? We're missing it.
so just send out the love.
And it really
Right.
matters. And, you know, really in your own body, in your own relationships, in your own life, in your own interactions, you know, where can you diffuse that warring conflict energy and bring peace and love and harmony. I witnessed this the other day in the grocery store, and it was just like a mild thing, but it was so powerful, right? Here we're wanting to stop the war in the Ukraine. And most people, that makes them feel very helpless because they can't. But there is disharmony in their own relationship, or disharmony within their own family, or disharmony in some interaction with a stranger in the grocery store. And I witnessed this, and there was these two people in the grocery store, and it was a little bit tense. And there was this man that worked there, and he just kind of came over, and he just kind of laughed and smiled and started talking, and just said, "Oh, let me get that for you. Oh, let me get that for you. It's no big deal, no problem, right?" And like, it went from kind of tense to just totally peaceful. And I went, "Oh, that's it right there. That's it right there." When we look for every opportunity in our own life, in our own community, in our own environments, in our own relationships, to bring peace and harmony and joy and freedom, that's what we can do. That's what we can do. And, you know, we have people in our community that are part of the United Nations that are actually going into Ukraine. And, you know, that's what's lighting up for them. That's their inspired action. That's what they have created as their experience and how they serve in their life. And that's amazing. And what you do every day is just as important to creating greater peace and harmony and freedom on this planet. And it matters. And you have the power to do that. And as you start feeling that power and you start experiencing that, you'll get it. You will get how important you are. You will get how much you matter. You will get what you, when people say all the time, I get these messages and I'm here to raise the vibration. I'm here to raise the consciousness. These are examples of that and how you do it in your life every day.
Pat, thank you so much.
Yeah. Thank you, Pat. We
Thank
love
you.
you. Really good question. I hope that was helpful.
Fantastic question, but it's really in alignment. And again, Sarah, it's even that warring within ourselves, a place where we're not good enough, we're stupid, this doesn't work, or I'm stuck in this thing. That's it's all coming back to us, and where we can, what those events may be pinpointing that's within us.
Yeah.
Something with us, and having compassion, and shifting the vibration and having the awareness. And I find that a lot of people, we've been so conditioned, y'all, to react from a surface level emotion. And from that reaction, it's like, okay, but what else is making me feel this? Okay, what's making me feel that? What's making me feel this? And let's bring in critical thinking to our responses, because we're taught that's bad and that's good. It's like, why is this triggering me? Number one. And I love that you got to the root of it for so many of us, because we don't want to see other people suffering, which is also, we don't want to see ourselves suffering simultaneously. But then to get into other awarenesses that are running through. I had an experience last week. I saw, and I'll make this short because I want you to finish in this call, but I had a huge judgment of this transformational teacher who's sharing information, just everything. He's like, oh, disgusting. I don't want to hear it. It's like something's off. It's like, and I was like, whoa. Why did I have such a severe reaction? And I could have made it about her. And I did for a little while. I was like, there's something else happening here. Because why do I have to get triggered at? Why do I have to go at war with it? Why do I have to judge? She's perfect for whoever's listening to her and resonating for her at the time. And I know that. But my reaction was telling me that there was something deeper that I had to question inside of myself, where I was perhaps judging how I do what she's doing subconsciously, or despising myself in those actions. What was it leading to that? And also levels like, look at the power that she's sitting in, communicating this information where people are receiving it. And is that part of me saying, well, why can she do it and I can't? Or why is she at that level of success and why am I reaching it, or kind of dipping my toe in it and out? And it was just an invitation into leadership as well. So going deeper, going into the critical mind, having relationship with the triggers rather than staying on the surface level of that wave. You have all the answers inside of you. It's profound.
Yeah. I love what you said too, just about new levels of leadership, because this is it. For most of us, we've never seen someone who responded from the highest level of consciousness in their daily life, no matter what was going on. And that's why the council says that you are the way showers, not the way demanders, the way forcers or tellers, or the even warriors. It's the way showers. You're here to step into these higher levels of consciousness and awareness, in those higher vibrations, into these states of realization and enlightenment, and to really live and lead and love from that place. You know, if we want to change the world, it's just 1 or 2 generations. That's it. But how you show up and how you live and how you lead and how you love, whether you have a company or a platform, or you're a parent, or you're taking care of someone, you're a caregiver, when you go to the grocery store, when you go to the mailbox, when you walk by your neighbor, these are all opportunities for leadership. To be the way shower that you're here to be, of a better way that's possible. And we would all agree. What is that? Joy, love, peace, harmony, well-being, freedom for all. We all have that same dream in our heart. We really do. And the council says we are here because of our great love for humanity and for the planet and for the animals. But if we get entangled in the trauma and the drama, and we then perceive ourselves as powerless and as victims, and we begin to suffer ourselves, you know, there's no judgment of that ever, but you're here to bring a higher level of consciousness and to raise the vibration, to really be a way shower of a better way possible. And when people say, I don't know what my purpose is, every moment is your purpose. You are your purpose. The frequency, the vibration, the consciousness, the light, the love you're bringing. There's not any situation in my life where I've ever had any disharmony when I ultimately get to the place where I just want to be more loving. I just want more love. I just want the people in my life to feel loved. And they may tell me their issue is this or that, but ultimately, people want to be loved. They don't want someone to try to change them. They don't want someone to tell them what they should do or what they need to fix. People want to be loved. They want to know they matter. They want to know they're seen. You have the power to do that. That's leadership. That's leading and loving and being a leader. And it's really important right now. And the other thing that comes up sometimes when people say, well, you know, my family and my friends, they don't listen to this stuff. And when I say stuff like that, they just think I'm crazy. I'm like, well, a perfect example of this. And you know, I can think about this in my own life. When I showed up in my situations going like, they're probably going to think I'm really weird. They never understand me. They're not going to get it. Maybe I shouldn't say anything. Or if I'm in reaction and, you know, I am decided that, you know, somebody's religious belief is wrong because I know that, you know, right. If I'm in that energy of like, I know they're wrong and I'm trying to convince them to my side, I'm guaranteed to be met with reaction. I'm guaranteed to be met with a reaction, right? Even if you're showing up in that, oh, they're going to think I'm weird or strange, or you're going to be met with a reaction. And it was someone in our community that shared how she used to do these beautiful automatic writings. And she would go to her husband and she'd be like, this is so weird. I know it's totally woo woo and you're not into that. And this is so crazy, but can I just read this to you? Right. She's like, he never wants to hear my stuff. I'm like, well, maybe frame it just a little differently. Right. Wow, babe, I just wrote the most beautiful thing. Oh my gosh. It just lights me up and makes me feel so happy. Can I read it to you? Right. And she said, eventually, like she did that a couple of times and her husband started asking for her to read him her automatic writing. So the energy that you bring into things, if you are so determined that what is right and what is wrong, you're going to entangle. You're going to get into judgment and you're going to entangle with opinion of what's right and wrong. if you know your truth in your heart and you know and accept and love yourself, and you really feel how clear and confident you are in what you feel and what you believe, first off, you might not need to tell anybody your opinion or, how you see it. You can just bring the consciousness and the presence that is within you. And that alone begins to shift things. But this is a thing I think that happens when we don't feel worthy, is we just assume people aren't gonna get us, but they really will. If you just look them in the eye and love them, and you just love them, you will probably find that they feel closer to you than anyone.
Yeah.
And this is true in my own, one of my family dynamics that was really difficult for me, coming from a very Christian family who did not understand metaphysics and spirituality and channeling. I just decided that that was okay, that I could just love them and I didn't need them to understand. You can just love them. And that's what changed everything for me.
Beautiful. What an amazing conversation. And again, Pat, thank you for inspiring this way
Yeah.
right now. So beautiful.
Thank you
There's
so
more
much.
of this. Yeah, there's more. There's more with Sarah, with the live calls that are coming up, with the kickoff party that is about to be launched on the 24th. Access it, y'all. The link is in the chat box. Scroll to the very bottom of the chat box. You just click on there and it'll open right up to the sales page. Or you can access the page by going to beyondtheordinaryshow.com/Sarah27 and choose your own price, dive in, and join this amazing community and resonance and harmonic that Sarah's been creating with the council, with her community, and now with you as you join as well. So definitely take advantage of it. And today's call, the replay will go out a little bit later this evening. And you can always access the replays by going to beyondtheordinaryshow.com/replay. All right, Sarah, what's your perfect morning before we go?
Oh, well, I can tell you that. So I started this practice when I was getting up at 5 o'clock in the morning. My alarm would go off. I'd have to jump out of bed quickly. I'd get my clothes on. I'd get to the gym. I'd work out really fast and then shower. And I would drive 45 minutes to my office. I'd work in my office all day, drive home in traffic for 45 minutes or an hour, get home, have a bite to eat, work some more. And that's pretty much what I did 7 days a week. And, I had no idea how I could live my perfect day, but my perfect morning was to wake up fully rested whenever my body was ready to wake up, to just flow into my day with my animals and my sacred space, do my meditation and my journaling and have a beautiful workout and get all of the me time I needed, and then have the most amazing conversations with the most amazing people all day long, people from all over the world that just expanded my heart with love, and then have an amazing dinner with my partner and celebrate our day, and then just do it all over again. And that's, I never would have thought that was possible for me where I was, but it's like it happened so fast. Although sometimes when you're looking forward, right, you think, oh, it took that long, but you look back and go, wow, that happened so fast. But it really does work. It really does work. And there's just something so special to me about that sacred time in the morning to meditate and visualize and create my life and just kind of flow into the day. Sometimes I write down my dreams, whatever it was, but to me, that's my perfect morning.
That's wonderful. And again, the reason I asked, and I had a feeling where you're going to go with it, but I love how you express it and we can feel it because it's an invitation for us to feel as well. But it takes me again to the beginning of the call. If you didn't listen to the beginning of the call, you guys are going to want to come back and listen to the replay for sure, because it's a transmission and activation as well. But you're sharing from embodiment, not from a philosophical, or perhaps this is going to work, or if you do the law of attraction, A, B, C, and D, this is you're intimately aware of what's happening and transparent. And in hindsight, you can see how all the pieces of the puzzle just beautifully and gracefully came together in love, not in resistance or fighting or in war and you having to fix it and all that, but in love.
Yeah.
And that's what you keep sharing. It's all been a path of love. And from that, I'm so grateful for you and for holding it in the way that you do.
Thank you. I'm so grateful for you. And thank you to April and the entire BTO community. I love being here with you guys. It is a celebration every time. I hope you all will join us for Grand Manifestations. It's technically 7 live sessions together with the kickoff party and the 6-part channel call. We're going to dive so much deeper into this. Consciousness is what moves energy into form in all areas of our life. And so just get ready for an amazing, amazing adventure as we dive into that course. And I will see you all there. Thank you. Thank you. I love you all and have a beautiful rest of your evening.
And everybody in the call, thank you. I love you, Sue. Namaste. And I look forward to seeing you on the next call. Have a great evening.